It was pretty clear within the first few weeks of starting my agency just a couple of years ago that something quite different and unique was happening at the time. What I didn't expect was what was about to happen over the next 2 years with my social media marketing agency. In this video, I'm going to share the exact framework I used when I first launched my social media marketing agency just a few years ago that helped me go from 0 to 6 figures to multiple 6 figures. The best part is, at that point, we used no ads, no funnel. We didn't even have a website for the first 12 months. So it's this framework that I used in 2019 that I'm going to share with you all today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Craig Lewis. For the last couple of years, I've been running a social media marketing agency specializing in Pinterest, also running Instagram and sharing helpful tips on how to grow online businesses. Recently a podcast and also a newsletter. My intention is for me to share everything I've learned over the last 5 years so that it can help other entrepreneurs time collapse the time it takes to get from point A to point B. And in doing so, the two main aspects that I'm helping online business owners with is increasing the revenue of the businesses and also increasing the reach of the businesses. If you'd like more information on those, please feel free to click the links in the banner above and you can discover for yourself what each of those individual links is about. Before we get into the main framework of this video, which I'm going to share with you guys today on the framework that I use to build a multi-6-figure social media marketing agency, there's probably a couple of things I should share with you just for context so that there's some kind of base level in terms of what happened and the steps that I took in the early days to help it grow in the way that it grew. So I think the first thing to share is the agency came into being and came to life by accident. I attended a mastermind in Thailand when I was living in Thailand back in 2019. I went into that mastermind with a very different project and outcome. Long story short, by the time the mastermind finished, I had pretty much started an agency, not knowingly at the time, but within the first few weeks of that mastermind finishing, I had my first 10 paying clients. I've shared a recent video on what it is that I did back then, so if you want to see that, I'll link that video below and in the description. But for now, this is not like how I got those clients. This is more the framework that I come to realize that I've used back then. So the second thing is, I had no idea what I was doing. This was the first time I'd ever built an agency. This is the first time that I'd ever recruited active paying clients, because everything before that that I'd ever built online was info products or affiliate marketing or some other variation of those two. I had never ventured out into a service-based or customer-based approach. It was totally different for me. Looking back now, I'm pretty much making it up as I went along. It's not until I've looked back that I can see the steps that I took and I can now kind of put these pieces together and I can actually see this is what worked, this is how we grew. And it's also been repeatable because I've actually provided this framework to other individuals, including myself, where I've repeated this on other projects as well. So I think the last point, just before we get started, is during that time prior to going into that mastermind, I probably undervalued my skill set at the time. And this is quite an important one because I think a lot of business owners, when we first start out something or when we become kind of a specialist in something, and for me at that time, it was understanding the Pinterest platform for creators and e-commerce owners. And for such a long period of time, I'd had my head down and I just kind of got on with what I did, developing the skills to get better at this particular skill set. And in the course of doing that, I'd not really looked outside of what I was doing. So I kind of underappreciated and didn't really understand just how advanced the skill level that I'd acquired actually became. And it wasn't until speaking to other business owners in person that I realized this amount of knowledge that I've been building over the last couple of years was actually a viable source of information and channel that I could help other individuals with. So I think the reason why I'm sharing this particular thing is sometimes we get really good at what we do as business owners and we don't take the time to firstly appreciate what it is that we've done, and secondly take stock of all of the skills and mindsets and just different attributions that we've built in the course of becoming better. So I think it's important to pause and just take a look around and just realize what it is that you've actually become really, really good at. And it's not just serving you as the thing that you're doing, but it also has the potential to ripple out and also help other business owners at the same time. So the funny thing is, if I had known this framework at the time, the framework I'm about to share in a moment, if I had known this at the time and I'd been able to use this, a couple of things would have happened. Firstly, we would have grown at a faster rate, which is a good thing, but we also would have ironed out all of the growing pains as we started to acquire new team members, acquire a higher level and a higher volume of clients. I could have seen the things more clearly, and it would have helped streamline the process. So that's kind of my intention today, is to share this framework so that you can help understand how to actually do this without any of the tech stuff, without any of the things that most marketing agencies, most business owners, most online service-based businesses have in place. My intention is to kind of highlight that you don't need all of the funnels. I didn't even have a website for the first 12 months. Everything was being done through Messenger, Facebook, and there was no kind of system in place. Had I known what this framework was, it would have helped me understand things from a higher perspective better. And if I could understand these things, it would have helped streamline the entire process, not just my perspective, but the team members that I have in place at the time. Okay, so this is actually the few steps that I'm going to share with you that I've now come to realize are the steps that I took to help me do what I did back in 2019, 2020, and continued on to this day. So I think the first one is, what is the offer and service that you can actually help someone with? This may seem like a really obvious one, but it's really overlooked. And when it's overlooked, what tends to happen is other businesses that use this framework tend to blend into the rest of the other services that exist doing what you do. It's very easy to kind of fall in line with what other people are doing. So the more specific you can get in terms of what it is that you're doing, the more clear on who you're helping, how you do it, and the outcome that you have with your service and offer, the easier it is to stand out, but also for you to connect with people. And this is what I did back in 2019. At the time, we were helping business owners, creators, and e-commerce owners use the Pinterest platform. So we got very specific. We said, I help online businesses such as e-commerce owners, content creators, use Pinterest to drive more sales, revenue, and traffic. We got very, very specific, and it helped because it helped us relate to other individuals who were thinking about or already using Pinterest, and who also fell into that demographic of individuals. So the first thing is be super, super clear on who you help and what it is that you do. So number two, so this is an interesting aspect, and I think for the most part, a lot of people overlook this. I kind of fell into this by accident. Firstly, because I had no prior experience of building a service-based business online. So the first thing I naturally gravitated towards was to speak to the people that I knew in person. So I actually connected with all of the people that I could at the time in person. This was nothing to do online. I spoke with all individuals that I thought would be a good fit for what it is that we're doing. And I actually met them in person, and I talked in person to them exactly what it is that I planned, what it is that we were going to do, and how we could help grow their businesses using the strategies and the approaches that we had in place. So step number two is really overlooked, but it's speak to the people that you know in person first. Before doing anything else, go and connect with actual individuals that you know in person, and share what it is that you can do and how you can help them. So step number three is, after you know who you help and how you help them, and you've spoke to the people that you know in person, the next thing to do is go and connect with people online. These can be friends that you just can't connect with in person, but they can also be your network on a wider perspective. So it's go and connect with all of the individuals, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media platforms or whatever platforms you have accessible to you. Doesn't matter which ones, even use all of them. Use all active social platforms that you have, and reach out to all of your network and tell them what it is that you do, and tell them how it is that you're going to help them. Because I guarantee, now I don't know the exact stats, but it's roughly 3 to 4% of anyone's audience at any time is pretty much ready to work with someone who puts an offer in front of someone. So that's pretty decent. If you have a couple of hundred connections and network online that you can connect with, if you have more, even better. But just think, anything from 1 to 3% of that audience are pretty much ready to work with you right now. So go speak to people online, connect with people online, tell them what you're doing and how you're doing it. And this was the catalyst that started to build momentum for me back in 2019. I already connected with people online, I had momentum. What I was actually doing was the people I would speak to online, I would use my own social proof, which was I've already met with people face to face, they're already interested, would you be interested too? So it kind of helps snowball the momentum. So you can already tell the people in your network, I've already spoken with this person, this person, this person, they're ready, they're also on board, and would you be interested too? And it helped gain momentum really, really quickly. So step number 4, this is posting in specific and relevant Facebook groups. And this can be tricky, and it can also come across as very spammy, and it can also irritate a lot of people. So the thing to do is be very selective in what groups you pick and how you do this. The way that I approached this was I requested the people I was working with at the time, if they have enjoyed working with my company, if they enjoy the results that they have, would they mind posting in some of these Facebook groups that they were in and tag me in some of the results that they thought were notable, or the experience they had with my company was something they enjoyed. This started to gain momentum without me having to post anything, or without anyone posting anything that could be pitching or posting an offer or service. Anytime a thread would come up around increasing traffic, increasing sales on different social platforms, the people I would work with would join in and they would tag me and say, I worked with Craig, we had really good results, my experience was good, maybe you should reach out to them. So that was one approach that actually worked really well. The second approach is post and spam free groups. From my experience over the last few years, free groups are not the best place. They're kind of overloaded with so much information. I think a better approach might be to use paid Facebook groups for a specific topic, whether you can pay to get into them, or just private groups where they're invite only. These tend to have a higher quality of individuals, and they tend to have more serious people that are ready to invest in businesses rather than constantly looking for free information. The other thing to do is, once you're in these groups, instead of just posting and pitching offers and posting at inappropriate times and just like posting things that people aren't asking for, is to connect with the owners of the Facebook group, connect with the owners of the group, tell them who you are, what you do, and how you can help. 2 things will probably happen. The first is you will start to develop a natural connection with the individuals who run that group. Secondly, as a byproduct of that, if it's a good fit and the relationship is developing between you, you also have the opportunity to promote your service and product under their Facebook group, or even through them, and form some kind of affiliate partnership or partnership in general, where they take a commission or a cut based on the amount of clients that you sign from their Facebook group. So essentially, it's a better synergy to do this rather than just posting random posts about what it is that you do. It can be tricky. There are rules and terms for each group, so obviously make sure you pick the right one. Make sure, in my opinion, I think a good idea is to connect with the Facebook owner, the group owner, and speak to them and share what it is that you're doing. But Facebook groups are very, very powerful. And as I mentioned in one of my other videos on how to get your next 10 clients, by the time we finished that beta group, which I ran a couple of years ago for the very first time, I had a 6 to 8 week waiting list within the space of the first 3 months of opening my agency for the first time. And all of these leads came from individual Facebook groups. So it's super, super powerful, very, very well worth the time investment, especially to go from 0 to 6 figures to 6 figures to multiple 6 figures. It's a valid approach that only when done correctly. So the 5th step in this 5-step framework of what I used to generate the revenue that we did, I encouraged new clients to pay in full for either 6-month contracts or 12-month contracts. And a couple of things happened with this. Firstly, those that were incentivized with 6 and 12-month contracts, I would add additional things into their contract or additional things into their service that somebody on a month-to-month basis would get, whether it would be more images, more attention. We would just add in more things to help them succeed at a faster rate. Obviously, at that time, it was great, because what we saw happen was not everyone wanted to pay in full for various different reasons. It ended up being a 50-50 split. And in being a 50-50 split, this meant a few things. We had enormous cash flow coming into the business from half of our clients, but then the other half of the clients still added to the monthly recurring revenue. So we still had a recurring revenue per month, but we also had big cash flow coming in each month as well. And this was one of the reasons, and probably a major catalyst in how we grew to a multi-six-figure business within the space of 9 months to a six-figure business, and then I think it was 14 to 15 months that we got to multi-six-figure business. So valid approach, very well worth incentivizing new clients and new customers to pay in full for longer durations where they have more value from you to decrease the time that they get to their desired outcome. So step number 5 in this 5-step framework is to encourage pay in full. So I didn't mention this at the start, but this is the icing on the cake, and it's something that I didn't realize I did when I first started out with my agency a few years ago. And as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't until I started looking back at what were the steps I took, how was this process so effective, what was it that worked so well. And this doesn't really form part of the first 5 steps that I've mentioned. This is the icing on the cake. This is what gets people from maybe to a yes, and the ones that are yes to like long-term, even 6-12 months clients and contracts being signed. People that would come to me, they would send me a message, send me an email, whichever channel they came from, whether it was my email address at the time or my personal Facebook messenger. And some people were literally ready to pay. They were all ready to pay. They were like, give me your details, how can I pay you? This is the thing I want to do, when can we start? Even those red hot clients that were ready, I would still go through and take the time to go through their website. I would look at any Pinterest account that was in place, any Pinterest account that they were thinking of doing. I would go find their competitors. I would spend maybe 30 to 45 minutes every single time someone would come in. And I would provide a total analysis of what we found, what were the things that could be improved, what kind of results can be expected, and also how would we do this? So essentially, we went through everything. I found every single thing that could be improved on, but I also give them all of the answers and our strategy and our approach as to this is how we would do it. And the turnover in terms of new clients coming into the business was incredible. And I think a lot of it came from the feedback we had from such a detailed approach and such transparent information that we were handing over even before we signed clients. So the key takeaway from this aspect is, even before you sign clients, whichever system you have in place, give more to them than they are giving to you. So give as much away as possible in terms of what it is you do, how you can help them, and provide them all of the information you're comfortable with and sharing with them as to how it is you're going to help them get results. And just as another layer to this, we had referrals come from existing clients, and the feedback we had from the referrals that came into the business were the person that referred me was so impressed by the level of understanding and the information that you give to them before they became clients and before you even a monetary exchange and transaction happened. And we grew quickly because of referrals, and an aspect of that was because we give away all of our information. We told people how we were going to help, and 99.9% of the time, those clients that we did, they would all sign. So that's kind of like the icing on the cake, and I think maybe like the key takeaway is give more than what you're expected back, because it certainly worked for us. I hope you've enjoyed that video. That's kind of like the system and process that I followed and still follow now, is that 5-step framework of what we used to go from 0 to 6 figures, 6 figures to multiple 6 figures, without using ads, without using funnels, and we didn't have a website for the first 12 months.